Where is this recovery?
Yes, it's a big miss, and year-over-year growth number is actually distorted because we know that last year, the same period with the Shanghai lockdown, activity was very low, was very weak. So in year-over-year term, we should expect actually a much stronger number, as we show in the consensus forecast. But today's definitely is a big miss. IP I found the most surprising because if you look at the export data 1 week ago, actually export is not that bad, actually, pretty much in line with expectations. So that tells you that domestic demand is a major bottleneck. We are losing the recovery momentum very quickly into April, not only production, but also consumption.
Also, some of the noise coming out of the central bank, the PBOC, has changed, admitting certain things here, haven't they? They've been, for instance, looking at perhaps dropping the phrase of not flooding the economy. They dropped this phrase of not flooding the economy with stimulus, and that's very important.
Yeah, that has been the policy language using for multiple years, I'll say, particularly after the 4 trillion stimulus package in 2008. The policy lesson is that don't actually flood the economy. So they've been always seeking, say, targeted support. But I think more interesting that PBOC also released a much policy operation report yesterday, and basically they say they're playing down the market concern on the deflation risk. They said inflation will pick up in second half. And they also argue that the current interest level is appropriate. So that explains that why yesterday the MLF policy rate stay unchanged. But we do see actually market rate is moving down. Right?
Is there a sense that there's just no urgency to really add stimulus, but you're getting more growing calls among your peers that we could be seeing something as early as second quarter now?
Yeah, I think that in the near term, like the Bureau meeting said, that the momentum for the growth is still not broad-based, it's still not solid yet. So as we see that actually from the April data, actually things are turning worse. So policy support is important here, but the question is here, which policy stimulus is most important? I think that industry policy probably will play a more important role than fiscal stimulus, particularly on the consumption stimulus. Much policy can play a supplementary role, but I think that the rate cut is not the most urgent policy response at this moment.
Well, just to say that we have the National Bureau of Statistics there at the moment, briefing everybody. That's what they always do, so we'll be getting some headlines throughout all this. But where is this weakness coming from here, Haibin?
Yeah, so if I look at today's data, clearly, number one, consumption demand remain very weak. So after the temporary normalization, what we saw in February and March, the momentum actually is softening very quickly. So of course that related to the household's income expectation, labor market expectation. If they don't expect the labor market employment condition to improve, if they don't expect the normalization in the income growth, then they are very cautious about the spending. But also interesting, I think that today's investment data is also a big miss. I think the monthly data, these are the year-to-date data, but monthly growth actually should be a pretty bad number. Of course, that could be, say, related to the real estate investment, but my hunch is probably for infrastructure and manufacturing investment, which is playing a leading role in supporting investment activity, probably also losing momentum quickly.